Hello everyone. Today I'm doing a little bit of a review of Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, I'm not a person who's very into the comics of Marvel or even DC. I like to check out sometimes people who critique certain comics from the thing, or at least video games of these things or whatever. And so not all of what I say will be basically a reflection of what I would consider should be copied from the comic books. I'm not one of those people who thinks that everything from the comic books should be copied. I mean, I'm not one of those people who doesn't think that, but I kind of don't give a shit. I just want the entertainment to be good. But I want to talk about a couple things. I apologize for that background noise if you heard anything. Now, here's a problem with this. Now, I have a few critiques of this movie because I thought it would be actually slightly better than it portrayed itself to be. But there are a few critiques that I have of this. Let's go with the romance between Peter Parker and MJ, who I'm going to assume is Mary Jane. I took some notes, not during, just now, but, and also this is a week later, sort of, but I recently went to see the movie on a Tuesday. I'm one of those people who likes to go for cheap. But here's the problem with the romance between Peter Parker and MJ, who I'm assuming is Mary Jane, but I'm going to stick with MJ. The problem I have with the relationship between well, there wasn't even a relationship that ended. Oh, I should just go with this. There is spoilers in this, so be warned if you haven't seen the movie yet, and I'd be surprised if you haven't, because I've watched it late, people have watched it early, but whatever. Here, spoilers, you've been warned. The problem I have with the relationship between Peter Parker and MJ is that, for one, in the first movie, Spider-Man Homecoming, Peter Parker was all over the original girl. Whoever that girl was, I don't remember her name. Now, I don't know what happened to her at the end of the last movie. I'm not gonna even try to go back to check out what happened. You can tell me in the comments what did happen. But the problem I have with the relationship between MJ and Peter Parker is two things. One, he was all over that other girl from the original movie, from Homecoming. Now, I don't remember exactly what happened to that girl at the end of the movie. I don't remember at all. I guess the relationship just ended the moment he left prom or whatever it was, knowing that the girl that he liked was the daughter of a villain. The problem I have with this movie is that they don't acknowledge that whole type thing. I mean, obviously they had the snaps. They're 5 years later. I don't know if that girl, whoever it was snapped or whatever. But that's the problem I have with the relationship between Peter Parker and MJ. Now here's another thing. I don't know. Now, if you've seen the movie, you know that there's this other kid who people are gonna go insane with this. I'm gonna assume he's an Asian kid. He's one of those, or Japanese. I don't know. He has the features of an Asian person, ethnically Asian. I don't know who that kid is, but I assume that before the snap, he was the same age as the rest of the class, thus making him, in regard that he wasn't at all snapped, like Peter Parker was, and I assume MJ also was snapped, but this guy wasn't snapped, because he's grown. I'd say he's 22, 23 years old, if he's regarded as being the same age as Peter Parker and MJ. Which makes me assume, again, assuming MJ was also snapped away, so him pursuing her, because they have this dude, along with Peter Parker, have a non-official competition to get with MJ, but I find it more disturbing the fact that he's 22 or 23 years old and pursuing a girl who's 18. Now, I only find it a little disturbing. I'm not gonna say like he's 50 years old trying to get with an 18-year-old. He's 22, 23. He's only 5 or 6 years older than her, and also him. Now, in another scene that's to check off, MJ's confession. Now, in the trailer, there's a scene where MJ, I'm trying to stick with MJ. MJ points out when Peter Parker is trying to tell her on that bridge pathway, whatever that thing is, at night, where he's trying to tell her how he feels about her or whatever, and out of nowhere, out of left field, out of nowhere, she's like, "You're Spider-Man?" "Yeah, you're Spider-Man." Like, I don't know, but the whole thing about it is that what they don't show in the trailer, what comes later, actually they talk about it later on, in regards to that conversation, that she was saying something else to avoid saying something else. That she has the same feelings that Peter Parker has for her that she does for him, but she doesn't say you're Spider-Man because she didn't, I don't know, want to say how she felt, but whatever. But the problem I have with it is that regardless of the fact that she had feelings for Parker, let alone that Parker is let alone the feelings that Peter Parker has is out of nowhere, it isn't at all hinted MJ's feelings in Spider-Man Homecoming. I have a problem with this because if you're going to talk about MJ confessing her feelings for Peter Parker, talking about how she was staring at him all these times or whatever, like, the whole thing about MJ in the previous movie was that I don't know MJ's mode. I don't know MJ's um character arc or whatever. What her job is, like in the comics, what her job is. Like maybe she's a journalist. I don't know for sure. I'm gonna say this. I am a fan of the original trilogy with Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire? Am I getting that name right? The original Spider-Man. I call him the original Spider-Man. Those are my favorite ones. 1 and 2 are my favorite. 3 is questionable, but still, I think Mary Jane is she is a singer. Then starts off as whatever she starts out off. But the problem I have with this, and I think she becomes a journalist at the near end, but primarily she's a singer in the original trilogy. The problem I have with MJ, regardless of the fact that she acts as if she's a journalist in some manner or fashion, which I think she will become one, regardless to the games, because I think of another YouTuber who talks about MJ reflecting her ability as a journalist, if she is one. I don't know if she is. I don't read the comics, so I don't really know her background. Thing is, I have a problem with this because it's out of nowhere that it's not even hinted in the first movie that she's at all interested in Peter Parker. No interest whatsoever. In fact, she acts like Peter Parker's weird and all this stuff. I mean, yeah, she does. She in this movie, in Far From Home, it is again hinted the same thing that she hints, and as well as that Asian dude also makes the same hint that she does in this movie. Says, "Where are you going, Peter? Why does you seem to be leaving at strange hours or whatever, Peter? Whatever. She does make the same hints, but that's the only thing that would make sense in her questioning his motives in regards to leaving at weird times and disappearing out of nowhere. But there's no hint in the original movie of her having feelings for him in regards that she actually mentioned them in this movie. Like I didn't get any hints from that. Like she's saying she was staring at him all this time, and like I say all this, I mask it with this. And instead of that, I have feelings for you, that's why I'm staring at you, but I'm trying to say that I think you're Spider-Man, which is why I was staring at you, but it's not the real reason I was staring at you, I like you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But she didn't really, she showed in, I would say, a introvert agitation towards him in sort of way, acting like, sort of playing on their feelings of like, acting like they will be, like say they're conspicuous and she's like listening in on them, like don't listen to her secrets or whatever. But it's like in the original movie there was no hint that she had feelings for him. There was no hint of that. She was a strange girl who stood out from the rest because she engaged them in a nonchalant manner of saying you guys are weird, whatever. But there's no hint of her having feelings for him, none whatsoever. In this movie, it's just again, it's out of nowhere. They're showing subliminally in the commercial, in the trailer, but again, there was no hint in the original movie. Peter Parker was all over that other girl, and out of nowhere he has feelings for her all suddenly. Like, her feelings are out of nowhere, but she's not the one pursuing him. He's pursuing her. I mean, they both like each other, but he's pursuing her as if the relationship that he had previously, or the relationship he was trying to enter, was there previously. Was there previously. Like at the very end, she started to like him, even though he liked her the entire time. But out of nowhere, somehow that interest just snaps out of existence, and all of a sudden he's interested in MJ. Okay, next point. It goes off from relationship, which gets into now the Tony Stark, Peter Parker, Tony Stark, Mysterio aspect. Now, for those of you who don't realize, maybe you don't, but the new character who acts like the new superhero or whatever, again, spoilers for you who don't know, he is the villain, but he pretends to be a hero, and he doesn't actually have powers, which actually is, I guess, in reference to the comics, as well as some other people reference, Mysterio is a regular human being who can't exactly fight, but he can use technology to make people see what he wants them to see. He's Mysterio. He fabricates. He makes illusions. He's an illusionist, basically, with technology. The thing is, Peter Parker was given technology glasses, which were called something Alexis. Alexis. Elixis. I don't remember the name. But they were glasses that Tony Stark gifted to. Tony Stark gifted glasses, which were sort of like a arsenal type key type thing for Peter to guide missiles and shit from outer space. It was technology, advanced arsenal, and glasses as a gift from Tony Stark, of which Peter decides, because it was a message that Tony Stark had left over. I guess it was. There was a message that he had left over in a letter or whatever, a gift from Tony Stark to Peter, and out of nowhere, for no reason, without knowing exactly why Tony gifted him, it just said gift to Peter Parker. Peter decides to read into the message as if there's a secret message behind the message, as if it says I trust you to pass these glasses on. I trust you with these glasses, or whatever the hell the message was. Something about I'm entrusting these glasses to pass on to the new Tony Stark or the new Iron Man, whatever. But he's assuming that. I mean, Peter's assuming that he was supposed to pass. The glasses on to someone else. But how does he know if there's an encoded message? I mean, I'm pretty sure Tony would be very. In regards that Tony is very explicit. He's blunt with his messaging. He's very blunt. He tells you what he thinks. As far as I know. So why would Peter read into the message as if the glasses don't belong to him? But out of nowhere is that he decides out of nowhere to trust Mysterio, someone he just met, despite having no proof of this man's story. And this man, I don't remember, I think Beck, he called himself Beck. And this Beck guy, oh yeah, spoilers again, there are no alternate realities. This guy's just one of those people who worked with or under Tony Stark. Sorry for that click here, my nose. The thing is, Beck makes up a story about these elementals that you saw in the trailers, but he doesn't. I don't know. Peter Parker just decides that he's telling the truth, as if like, oh, he's a superhero. I guess he's trustworthy. Oh, this guy was fighting this elemental because he's telling the story. How does he know if he's telling the truth or not? I mean, essentially speaking, Mysterio, as they dubbed him, had a compelling story in regards that when he started fighting, he didn't know this guy, and he didn't know the guy was named Beck until he was introduced later on, because they had the original fight with the original elemental, which was a water creature thingy. But honestly, it looked real. The fight looked real, obviously, because I don't know what technology the dude was using, but using technology that made a physical effect on objects around that elemental, because the elemental actually wasn't real again. But the thing is that he just decides to believe him. Like, the alternate realities? Really? Seriously? How did you get here? Like, no questions asked. Now, another problem I have. Now, again, more spoilers. Now, if you've seen Captain Marvel, you already know the Skrulls exist. They transform and all that shit. The thing is, in this movie, Nick Fury doesn't actually show himself, or at least a version of the real Nick Fury doesn't actually show up until the very end of the movie. I think it's like the end credit scene, the second end credit, I believe it is. The problem I have with this is that fake Nick Fury, who's supposed to pretend to be the real Nick Fury, so I guess Nick Fury's on vacation with the other Skrulls. I think he's in outer space. The fake Nick Fury, who happens to be a Skrull, along with the chick who, the actor Colby, who plays the character who's also beside Nick Fury for most of the time, I don't remember her name, are as stupid as Peter to believe without evidence that this man is who he says he is. That's another problem. Now, obviously, for some odd reason, these Skrulls are portrayed as being non-questioning, dumb, I'm gonna say people, but aliens. No, dumb aliens Like, were they not gonna even try to figure out if this guy was telling the truth? I mean, obviously they had a good explanation at the very. They gave themselves the excuse at the very end, in the end credit scene. Like, how am I supposed to know what this guy was showing looked real? Everything looked real. Blah 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 blah. Now, obviously, Mysterio was an illusionist, essentially an illusionist who used technology as illusions, and his motto was, given what people have seen, anyone will believe anything, because aliens have already come to Earth, Thor has already snapped people out of existence, so elementals will not be out of the question. So seeing elementals wouldn't really be out of the question of Avengers level threats, whatever. So, but in my opinion, in regards to the villain Mysterio, Beck, I think in my opinion, I consider the backstory of Beck or Mysterio to be somewhat weak. Now, this is why. You might actually consider my reasoning to be a little bit unnecessary, but reasoning is good, reasoning is bad, whatever. Now he also used, there were some, I guess, small cameos by characters who were in Iron Man, and, well, Beck himself was in, Avengers Age of Ultron, cameo of himself in Age of Ultron, although he didn't actually exist in Age of Ultron yet. I guess they just plant another version of himself, replaying a scene from Tony Stark using some kind of technology that he called a therapeutic thing, where he nicknamed the technology BARF. I don't know, virtual reality therapeutic session thingy, where he showed himself, younger version of himself, with his father and his mother, and he simulated that he wanted to say goodbye to his father, even though he didn't originally, as they said in the first movie, Age of Ultron, but in this, I don't know. My opinion was that when he stated that Beck apparently created the technology that Tony Stark created called BARF, and he felt that Tony Stark, I don't know, made it a leftover composite thing, and he said, this technology can change the world. And in my opinion, it would change the world. Tony Stark is selling the technology as a therapeutic thing. It helps with therapy. I mean, how is that not going to change the world? If you can simulate a better scenario that you wanted in the first place, how can that be bad? I mean, it would help people get through their shit. If the technology existed, it would help therapeutically. You can simulate reality, or a reality that you wanted to see, and get into the actual reality that you're supposed to be in. Get comfortable with the reality you have, settle your unsettled business in virtual reality, making sure you can sink in with real reality. Whatever. In other regards, despite the fact that there are slight plot issues, I enjoyed the movie very much. I mean, I enjoyed the movie more so than my criticism suggests that I didn't enjoy the movie, but I did enjoy the movie regardless of that. Those things just set me back. I'm becoming more of a critic than I am just a normal viewer, so that's kind of a problem for me. The fact that I'm actually able to criticize a movie. I normally would criticize a movie, but not talk about the movie like this. But those are my criticisms. What else was good? The dialogue wasn't bad. I found the relationship between Ned and whoever that other chick who acted as the news anchor on the school, whatever, the relationship just started out of nowhere. But that was, I guess, it's just for comic relief. Obviously, it's comic relief, but whatever. Other than that, the movie wasn't bad. And yet, the funny thing is, they kept moving to different locations I don't remember exactly where they were, Prague or something. They kept moving to different locations where they were going into bad crap. But it's like, what was it? The people who were trying to help Peter Parker were were manipulating from the background the location that his class would go to. And I guess it was a way to say, like, by manipulating it, they make, like, you get a high fashion hotel, and he'd still be in the midst of the attacks by the fabricated elementals. It's like, they're fabricating everything. They want him to be in the balls. And they keep bringing the class to the issue. Like, stay away from them. But those are my criticisms. Other than that, You can, if you've seen the movie, you can criticize me and figure out what I said wrong, what I said right. Also, fact check me on a couple things. Tell me what you know about the comics that I don't, because again, as I said before, I don't know about the comics. Maybe I think MJ. I don't remember exactly. I only remember. I'm kind of. I'm projecting Peter Parker and MJ's story onto the Flash and Iris's story. No, not in Superman and whatever, because from what I know, the female is the hardcore journalist, whatever. I don't know, but I don't know. Maybe MJ is a journalist. Maybe she's just a singer. I don't remember exactly. There's that and there's that. But other than that, feel free to criticize me for whatever you think I said wrong, whatever you think I said right.